Hello students, I am back with a very important presentation which will help you to ace the English board exam on 3rd December 2021. Yes, this presentation will tell you how to go about with your multiple choice questions. Basically, you will be tested through this medium only in your first board examination, which is on the 3rd of December. By now, you must have read the chapters that you are being tested upon in the first board exam. Before we move on with the tips, let me just skim through the syllabus that is going to be there in this first term exam. You will have 3 sections, the first one being reading comprehension, where you will get 2 passages, one factual, descriptive, literary or discursive, second would be a case-based unseen passage. Under creative writing skills, that is section B, you will get questions on short writing tasks like notice writing and classified advertisement, long writing tasks like letter to an editor and article writing. From literature, you have these chapters: Flamingo, Last Lesson, Lost Spring, Deep Water, Flamingo Poetry, My Mother at 66, Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, Keeping Quiet, Vistas, Prose Chapters, The Third Level, and The Enemy. Only these chapters are going to be there for your first term board examination. A little bit about the blueprint of the paper. Reading comprehension is for 14 marks. Now you have to understand this very carefully, children. Question number 1 will have questions 1 to 10, out of which you are expected to answer only 8 questions. Question number 2 will have questions 11 to 18, and you are expected to answer only 6 questions. Here I just want to add a little bit. Please answer only those questions that you are very sure about. Okay? Wherever there is ambiguity or you don't have clarity, don't answer the question because there is an internal choice over here. And yes, don't forget to highlight the last column, the hash one, which shows that you have not answered a particular question. So for example, if you've answered 1, 2, 3, you go about it, and question number 4, highlight the last hash column which denotes basically that you have not attempted this question. Word of advice: please don't act smart and answer all 10 questions. You will be at a loss because in case any of your questions is wrong from 1 to 8, your marks will be deducted even though your question 9 or 10 is correct. So I hope you are understanding, and you will only attempt the questions that you are sure about. Next would be creative writing skills. You will get 5 questions and you are expected to answer any 4. And from long writing task, you will get 7 questions. You are expected to answer any 6. Don't get confused by the weightage in marks because you know that each question is for 0.8 marks. It's not 1 mark. So don't get carried away by that. Literature is, now here you have to be careful because here you have 30 questions. Yeah, and so question 31 to 60, you have 30 questions. You have to answer any 26. Get that clear, children? You have to answer any 26. So question 5 to 9, there are 30 questions and any 26 have to be answered. The weightage is, as you can see, 11 marks for Flamingo and 7 marks for vistas. Again, each question carries only 0.8 marks. Now, as we move on, let's start with the first section, that's the reading section, which is for 14 marks. You need to keep certain things in mind when you are going through the first section, and that is the unseen comprehension passage. I always tell my students to use the first 20 minutes, that's your reading time, actually to just read and understand mainly the passages. You have a lot of time, you should essentially understand what the passage is about. So for that, what do? You skim through the passage first, you read the questions next, then you go back to the passage and scan the passage for answers. Well, some students like to read the questions first and then do the skimming and scanning. Do as it suits you, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay? Now, what is important is to understand the difficult sentences and words. Now, for vocabulary, you would need a complete understanding of the difficult words. If in case you don't get the meaning of the word, please read the sentence preceding it and following it. So you do understand what the word means contextually. Here, I would also like to give another tip. Suppose you have been asked the synonym of a particular word. So what you should do is just take the 4 options that are there and try and substitute the options in place of the original word. See which one fits in best, because sometimes the meaning of the word changes contextually. So please be careful about that. Questions also, you should understand, may not be direct. You will have to infer. And when you are inferring, another tip, don't let your preconceived knowledge interfere with the facts that have been given in the passage. That's very important. Sometimes on certain general topics, we have some, knowledge that we already have, which will interfere with whatever is being given in the passage. So don't get carried away. You have to understand what the passage is telling you, only that, because it's reference to that context. Okay. Next, you have to understand that there can be some application-based questions which will test higher order thinking skills. As you have seen in the sample question paper released by CBSE, there are going to be questions on reasoning, assertion, facts and opinion, which need application. I will show you some examples in the slides which will follow. Let's look at the first example. This is from your sample question paper, and as you can see, it is asking you to give the relationship between statement 1 and 2. You have to read the passage clearly, understand what is the relationship, and then those who have actually solved the sample question paper, they know it very clearly that the relationship is, the option is D, and the relationship is such that the first statement sets the stage for the second one. So you have to be very clear as far as these kind of questions are concerned. Next, again, this is also from the sample question paper. So it says, which quote summarizes the writer's feeling about the pace of growth of tourism in Jibbi Valley? If you've read the passage, you know what is the answer. Well, we all know that the passage talks about something what is being depicted in the first option. We kill all the caterpillars, then complain there are no butterflies. So you have to understand what the passage is saying and then look at the options and tick or darken the correct circle and write the correct option in your. Now let's look at this particular question. It says, in decreasing order, the share of states in milk production in India is. In this stem, what is important is you should understand in decreasing order. So look at the highest milk producing state, and that's Uttar Pradesh. Now look for the decreasing order. Don't be overconfident and start looking at the increasing order. I just want to draw your attention towards the phrase decreasing order. That is important, children. Let's move on to the next type. This is your assertion and reason. Emma dropped out of the fourth round match. Reason, all of a sudden she was severely injured. Very simple. Take the assertion statement, add because, and see if it is giving the answer. If the answer is given in the passage, you will understand that Emma dropped out of the fourth round of match because all of a sudden she was severely injured. Is it correct? If it says yes, it is correct, then you can say that yes, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. So you have to read the passage. So this is again reference to context. You have to understand what the passage is saying. Next one. Which of the following statements is not true according to the passage? So as you can see, the key words over here are not true. So simply, rather than writing pick out the false statement, the paper setter has written it in this manner. Which of the following statements is not true? Just to understand that you read the main question carefully. Now, depending upon reference to context, you will mark the correct option, whatever your passage is saying. Next, we talk about writing skills. This section carries 8 marks, and for this, no matter what you say, see, I know you are not writing the notices or letter to editor, but whatever the case may be, it's very important for you to know the formats because the questions will have something that will test your skill about the format. So you must revise the formats for notice writing, classified advertisement, letter to the editor, and article writing. These are the only 4 skills that will be tested in your first board exam. Now, next thing that comes is what is significant for each writing skill. This is very important, children. For example, you must understand that notice is a formal announcement or information. So the tone and style are very formal and factual. You're not writing anything that is pertaining to your personal choice. So it's very formal, very factual. It should have details like what it is, when it is, where it is, whom to contact, any other relevant details, and that's about it in a notice. So if you revise the formats, if you know what comes in a notice, you can actually attempt any kind of multiple choice question based on notice writing. Next is your classified advertisement. It is again a writing skill which is very simple, formal, factual, and comprehensive. So what do you remember about classified ads? That's the most important thing. Yes, you don't write in full sentences. It is written in a box and it is written like one paragraph. What is important as far as format is concerned? Heading, contact name, address, telephone number. That's the format which is important for classified ads. And when it comes to the body, you have to remember no full sentences, pertinent phrases, 4-5 details about what you are advertising, and that's about it. Okay, next we have letter to the editor. It's again a very formal piece of writing which highlights a problem and it offers solution for the same. So now what is important in a letter to the editor? That you talk about the problem and then in the next paragraph you give solutions. I know you are not writing a letter to the editor, but it's very important for you to know what comes in the first paragraph, in the second paragraph, and the third paragraph, because the questions can be anything about a letter to the editor. For example, the MCQs could be, what do you think comes in the third paragraph? Okay, be very clear about the format. As far as format is concerned, you know that it is the sender's address, date, receiver's designation address, salutations, subject, complimentary clause. That's the format. In case you wish to revise that, you can always look at my video for long writing skills. An article comprises of an introduction, advantages, disadvantages, cause and effect, suggestion, conclusion. This is majorly what is there in an article. And the format of an article is the simplest probably. It has the title and a byline. For more details, as I said, you can always watch my video on long writing skills. So let's look at some questions for your writing skill section. Now this is one question. Satvik lost his bus pass during interval in the school premises. He writes a notice about his lost property. So this is the reference to context. You will get a question. Based on that, then you will get your MCQs. So as you can see, the question is, which one of the following is the most appropriate opening sentence for this notice? So do you think I'll start my notice with, I would like to inform everyone? Or I should start it as, this is to inform? Or Satvik would like to inform, I lost my bus pass? Definitely it is option B, because as I said, notice is a formal writing skill which is very factual. Next, you have, this is your complex MCQ kind of a question. Select the option which covers the points to be included in the content of this notice. Now, even though the question says this notice, we all know that in a notice, we don't have a salutation. We do have a name of the school. We do have date and heading. Name of the finder, do you think it is important? Name of the object lost, do you think it is important? Yes, of course. So which options? Just use your technique of elimination. Salutation out, name of the finder out. So obviously option D is the correct option. So do that also. It's very important in your MCQs. I'll tell you about this in the next slide. Ritesh is moving out to US and has put up his house for sale. Draft an advertisement to be published in an English daily giving necessary details. The suitable title for this advertisement is. So now, as I was saying, I will give you another tip, and that is use the 50-50 technique. Yeah, the elimination one. So try and eliminate two lame options. Can it be Ritesh sells his house? No, it cannot. Ritesh goes to US. Do you think it can be important? No, it is not. So A and C are out. Now you are left with two options, B and D, to let. So tell me, does the question say that Ritesh wants to rent out his house? No, it says he wants to sell it. So obviously the option that is going to be the correct option is for sale. To let we only use when a person intends to rent out his property. So use the technique of elimination. Now, the format for classified advertisements, as I said, format is very important. You should know clearly what is the format for this particular writing skill? What is the tone that is used in this particular writing skill? These are very important questions that can come in the form of your multiple choice questions. So, do you think headline is important in a classified ad? Yes. Date? Do you think it is? Byline? No. B says picture, headline, byline, picture. Is it important in a classified ad? No. Date, content, contact. Well, contact is, but date, no. So definitely now, as you can see, headline, contact is what is required as far as the format of a classified advertisement is concerned. Next, sincerely is a part of. Salutation is what? In a letter to the editor? Always, children. Salutation is dear sir or dear madam or dear sir/madam. Signature line. Is it a part of signature line? No. It is a part of your complimentary closing. So you always close a letter to the editor by yours sincerely. And please do remember, yours does not take that apostrophe. I've been telling this. So yours sincerely is the complimentary closing. Hence, the correct option is option C. About this, information necessary to include in a formal letter. Well, we just now discussed what all should come in a formal letter. So, do you think date, serial number, location, relationship, preferred language? No, nothing. It's date, name and addresses. Address of the sender, address of the receiver. That is important in a formal letter. And therefore, the first option is the correct option. Now, this is again reference to context, but it's a very generalized thing. Hence, I'll just take it up. Online education is. Now, this is a complex MCQ. So you have to now look at the options which are correct with reference to the passage given. So as you can see, becoming popular due to its convenience, a burden to the children, the only alternative, not at all effective. So as per the passage, option A and C are correct. Hence, option C will be circled in your OMR sheet. One thing, children, please darken the circles properly and write the correct option in the fifth column. Okay, that's very important. The one which has an asterisk, write the correct option, because that will be considered when your papers are checked. Okay. The most appropriate title could be, again, this is also a very specific question, specific to the passage that is there. Read it carefully, think what the passage is about. And this particular one, I do remember the passage did talk about the advantages and disadvantages of online classes. Therefore, option B was the correct option. But as I'm saying, it's very important to read the passage carefully. Moving on to literature MCQs. This occupies a major chunk of your paper. It is for 18 marks. What do I do for this particular section? Well, you must be wondering that. I'm going to tell you. So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to read your chapters thoroughly, children, very carefully. And when I say read your chapters, just read them between lines. Remember the factual details, read them properly. It is not only imperative for you to understand the poems, it is very important to remember the names of the poets, as well as now, children, it is important to remember the names of the authors of your prose chapters. Again, poetic devices we've been doing only in poems. Well, for this section, you will have to remember the figures of speech, how they've been used in your prose chapters as well. Now, as you can see, I've written with examples. So it's not only important to understand that, okay, like rootless weeds, in your elementary school classroom is a simile. You have to understand what is a simile and the application of simile. I'll show you one example in one of the slides that will come a little later. When I say remember factual details, I mean chapters like enemy. You see, there are so many factual details: when the servants left, on which day, or when did the messenger come, or when did he confess in front of the general. You must know the factual details for MCQs. That's very important. Revise the traits of main characters. Now, this is again very important. This can come like a multiple choice, a complex question where some 8 character traits are given for a particular character, and you should know that this character had these character traits. So revise the traits of main characters. Even though you don't have to write the character sketch, you still should know what are the main traits. Context of significant statements, such as in deep water. Like context of significant statement, I would say, I see terror grabbed my feet. You should know when this happened. So context is also important. The questions in your paper will test your clarity of thought. For this, I would suggest you should know the chapter very nicely, because sometimes what happens is in your options you will have very very close options. Like I've said in this bullet point, distractors might appear overlapping. So for that you need clarity of thought, and you should know that this option only is the most appropriate answer, and this option gives the complete answer. Okay. Read the stem of the questions very carefully and do not be overconfident. Why do you think I've written this? I've seen that. Many times you tend to slip over questions like where it's written does not, cannot. So the negative thing is missed and children make the wrong choices. So be very careful about that. So this is from which chapter? The Lost Spring. Mukesh's elder brother. Not much older in years, she has begun to command respect as the Bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men. The question is, daughters-in-law must veil their faces before male elders. This custom reflects. This requires understanding. Is this prejudice? Is this stereotype? Is this logic? Is this necessity? Well, we all know this is a stereotype, and therefore option B is the correct answer. The next question says, choose the correct option with reference to the 2 statements given below. This is again assertion and reasoning. So read the assertion statement. Mukesh's father has been a successful professional because the reason is he has been able to renovate his house and send his sons to school. So do you think it is correct? Well, if you look at it, he has not been a successful professional. So definitely assertion is not correct. Yes. He has been able to renovate his house. Yes, the story does tell us about that. But has he been able to send his sons to school? Do you think it is correct? So in this case, you will choose the correct option as D. Neither A nor R is correct. Continuing with the same reference to context, the wife of Mukesh's elder brother is. Here I would suggest use the technique of elimination. She is not magnanimous and prudent. She is not defiant and rebellious. So 50-50. Use that. Gone. You have to choose between A and C. Well, there is no mention of her being servile. So the correct option is respectful and courteous. Question 4 is testing your vocabulary. Here I would suggest you should just take the word impoverished and try and substitute it with the underlined words. Don't miss in the stem. It says In which of the following sentences can the underlined words not be replaced by impoverished? So what are we looking at? Which word is the antonym of impoverished? Obviously, the choice here would be A. Moving on to reference to context question from your poems. This particular stanza is from an elementary school classroom in a slum. So the question here is, why does the poet refer to Tireless Valley in these lines? It's a simple answer. There is no doubt that option D is the correct one. It is in sharp contrast to their dim and dingy slums. Next question. With reference to the line, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, choose the options that are incorrect. Now you have to understand the option that is incorrect. So if you look at the first one, narrow streets are indicative of constrained and confined lives of slum children. Yes. Lead sky is suggestive of the dark, heavy clouds engulfing the slums. No. Narrow streets imply that children lives in slums enclosed by clear bluish sky. No way. Lead sky signifies dreariness and desolation. So option 2 and 3 are incorrect. Hence, the correct option for us is B. With the same reference to context, the phrase open-handed map suggests, please use the technique of elimination. Map of the world of the rich? No, it's not just the world of the rich. Map which showcases the world of domes and valleys? No, it's not, because it's not the map, it's the paintings. Remember? Map with beautiful bounties of nature. Again, it's talking about the pictures that were there on the wall. Therefore, the correct option is B, the map of the world arbitrarily drawn by powerful people. Question 4. Which option has the underlying phrase that applies the poetic device used for sour cream balls? So you know it is a metaphor, but now you have to apply that. So first one, fought like a lion, is a simile. As brave as a lion, again it's a simile. Winds roared, example of personification. So the correct option is, he was a lion on the battlefield. That is an example of a metaphor. This slide shows us the standalone questions that are there which are not with reference to context. So you have to read the stem. The third level refers to the third level at the Grand Central Station as a metaphor. Which of the following would not be an appropriate explanation of the title? So remember, would not be an appropriate explanation. So metaphorically, it does talk about convergence of reality and fantasy. It does talk about the third level being a bridge between the past and the present. It does talk about the need for an alternate plane of understanding. What it doesn't talk about is the oppressive monotony of modern life. That is not reflected through the title. So option B is the correct answer. The next one again I've taken as assertion and reason. Choose the correct option with reference to the two statements given below. Children working as bangle makers often lose their ability to hear. Then the reason is because they are exposed to high temperature and dust of glass polish. Which one do you think is correct? If you see, there is some mistake in assertion because it talks about losing their ability to hear. Was it ability to hear or see? So option D is correct because assertion is wrong. Reasoning is correct, but assertion is wrong. This is yet another style of MCQs that have been there in your sample question paper and you can expect in your actual board exam also, where you have to understand which statement is a fact which is there in the chapter and which is an opinion that you form on the basis of the facts that are there in the chapter. So as you can see, in this particular question, it says classify the options given below as fact or opinion. Well, the first one, is a fact because it is there in the chapter. Second one also has been mentioned in the chapter. Fourth one has been mentioned in the chapter too. So definitely only the third one is an opinion that we have formed on the basis of the facts that are given in the chapter. Hence, option C will be the correct answer. Let's look at this kind of question. What I was talking about, character traits. So if you know what kind of a character Sadau's father had, it will be very easy to solve this complex MCQ. So was he traditional? Yes, he was conservative. Was he open-minded? No. Was he magnanimous? No. Was he orthodox? Yes. Was he indulgent? Definitely not. So if you eliminate these character traits like open-minded, magnanimous, indulgent, you have the answer 1, 2 and 5. So option C has 1, 2 and 5 and hence that's the correct option. Choose the correct option with reference to the two statements given below. So statement 1 says nationalist media and journalists were lying to the masses about the war effort. Statement 2 says deep red scars could be seen at the back of Tom's neck, just under his ear. So since both the statements have been mentioned, the first one we have inferred, the second one it's mentioned, hence option C will be the correct answer, which says both statement 1 and 2 are true. So remember, these kinds of questions, they require a little bit of application, children. So that's about it. Just a word of advice about your OMR sheet. Please darken your circles properly and then correct option should be written in the 5th column. The question that you are not attempting should be darkened in the 6th hash column. That's very important. Again, just a word of advice. Don't act smart and answer all 60 questions. In total, you have to answer only 50 questions. Each question carries 0.8 marks. Okay, so good luck, children.